I made several videos about these fangame ideas, with a lot more in the pile. And some of you submitted a few to my Discord server. Here's more fangame ideas. Starting off with one from my Discord server, Kaiser11 has a game idea set in Seattle, one winter between Fallout 1 and Fallout 2. Winter was specifically chosen due to the desire to see how wastelanders deal with the snow and the cold weather, particularly trading and farming. The primary antagonist of this game is actually the Unity, but more of a neo-Unity that is focused on promoting a new type of superhuman, the Psychers. This would feature something of a horror movie aspect to it, with insane cultists. Kaiser points to the description of the Master's Corridor and Fallout 1 as the inspiration. In addition, there's a non-committed idea of possibly starting the player out as a raider descended from vault dwellers, sort of like the Khans, Jackals, or Vipers, a bit of an antithesis to the Chosen One. Alternatively, a scavenger would be another possible origin point. Kaiser includes some notes. The only faction to be reused would be the Unity, though a possible exception, yet unlikely, would be a small brotherhood group hunting the mutants. Still, the Northwest was chosen for its blank slate status, so reuse is really discouraged. Joining the Unity would grant the player psychic abilities at the cost of sanity, meaning more hostile NPCs plus psychotic and aggressive dialogue. The cold weather would be an important part of the gameplay, dictating clothing choices the player would have to make. Finally, because of the possible raider backstory, a system like San Andreas' Gang War would be a fun addition. So, my own opinion. It's actually kind of funny because I've been kicking around a few ideas in my head that you presented here. A Psyker-focused story using a remnant of the Unity, as well as a raider backstory. Those weren't related in my head, just ideas. While the raider aspect is fun, I think the best way to implement that is a player growing up in a raider tribe similar to the Great Khans, but isn't necessarily an active raider themselves, as to not force upon the plot point to the player. Maybe the protagonist gets to make a choice to either be a combat or non-combat member, something to that effect, though the title of the raider could still apply. As for the Psyker material, to keep the horror aspect, one could actually look to Bioshock splicers as a bit of a creepy element with psychic-type powers. Fireballs and electricity, both are present in Fallout 1 Psyker experiments, just a consideration. William doesn't seem to get too much into the main plot, but rather has a bit of a checklist of things he'd like to see. This includes contacts with areas outside the US, so we have an idea what's happening there. Each is represented by a faction of some sort within the states. In addition, religion playing a large role. Pre-war faith, pre-war corrupted faith, and post-war faith, all having a bit of a standoff. This doesn't exactly consume the main story, but plays an important role. He does explain a bit about what he's looking for, and uses the example of Morrowind as a framework, a story about an exceptional person shaping the future of the religion. The religious followers believe that, region by region, through divine intervention, a chosen one rises up to right wrongs, smite foes, and lead the world to salvation and a new era. He also suggests having rumors about a previous game's event being vague and contradictory. The believers see the Chosen One as perfect, immortal, and they want to help them. The Chosen One may make choices that splinter a group and cause them to get into a civil war. The overall theme of the game would be about the dangers of absolute blind faith and pressures of unfair expectations. If the player chooses to engage with the group, they should feel pressured by the group's belief and feel sad or frustrated if their decisions fail to meet all the group's expectations, as they're forced to watch the rift within the group widen because of it. A greater focus should be on reclaiming the land in the region, with the map split between more urban, bombed-out, irradiated area, and a more rural, unbombed, reclaimed one. William also lists a few gameplay elements. A genetic splicing system allowing you to mix animals together and mutate them into a new companion. Sounds familiar. An expanded player-made faction and settlement system. A new, meaningful set of roleplay options with an occupation system, like being recognized as a raider, trader, scientist, etc. A faction control system. Sounds a little bit like the previously mentioned San Andreas Gang War system, but more fluid since they could take from each other. Actually, maybe it's closer to Mount and Blade. Also, an underground base mechanic. Now, my own thoughts. I really love the idea of expanding on religion, but I'm also pretty biased due to my love for Morrowind, so that may be playing into it. I'm a little iffy on the idea of the religious followers seeing the player as an immortal god, but cults and insanity can get the better of people's legitimate thoughts. And in a way, they're probably justified due to the protagonist having plot armor, looking at it from a meta sense. I'd recommend not having the Chosen One be the player title. I get it's a trope and all, but Fallout 2 snagged that particular title. Maybe the Savior, the New God, the Messiah, the Shepherd, something like that, a religious tone. Another Chicago game. The plotline of Neeon's Chicago-based game is about the Enclave trying to rebuild their power after getting their ass handed to them by a tribal and later by some teenager. The Enclave gets into a civil war as Autumn's somewhat softer stances begins to gain more popularity. The Enclave would be the only returning faction, everything else is Chicago-specific. The Brotherhood of course does have that detachment, but given it has gone rogue, there might be a more Raider-oriented Brotherhood. Think the Pit. But the Brotherhood characters themselves would be a relatively small plot point. In total, the game's main narrative would be the Enclave's own civil war and the rebuilding. There would be a multitude of other factions also competing for power in that area, or to control some type of resource. As for gameplay, it would be like 4, but without the legendary drops and more unique weapons. Power armor would be a skill system, as well as a variety of perks for more unique builds. Now my own thoughts. I wonder if trekking down the Enclave path is a good or bad idea. I'm not sure. But if they ever do, I feel shaping them under a new ideology might be the way to go. I can see the argument that they stop being the Enclave, but truth is, groups often do change leadership and ideologies over time. It's a natural evolution. The Civil War aspect is certainly something to chase. It's basically the Alliance Brotherhood versus the Outcast storyline that ultimately never went anywhere. And that was 3 more fan game ideas. Personally, I'm debating on setting up a new survey since it's been about a year and I have grown some since then. If so, I'm wondering what more questions I could ask, how to rephrase things, stuff like that. And a special thanks to my channel members, especially my Members Twice Over guys like the Crazy Game Developer and Danny McPhee. And if you want to support me and join as well, I'd be more than happy. Also, feel free to join my Discord server and chat with us. Thank you, have a good one.